You found the Live Local Marketing Podcast, where business owners share their knowledge about what's working in the market today. No fluff, just their experiences and stories from people who are making it happen. And if authentic, practical marketing resonates with you, be sure to visit livelocalwarmmarketing.com and learn to grow your business on warm marketing referrals. Now, on to the show. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here again today. We're at the Live Local Warm Marketing Podcast. We have George. George, how are we feeling today?
Hi, I'm feeling great. Thank you so much for having me, Billy. I'm really excited to get started and then have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's awesome. You have a vast amount of information for us. You were in the arts, so it's going to be a very fascinating conversation. I'm looking forward to it. Now, George, he's an experienced marketing and communicator leader with proven ability to develop and implement effective human-led but data-driven omnichannel, that's a cool word, marketing strategies that have all supported international companies, institutions, and artists for over 14 years. With his work reaching millions of people every year and generating over £1 million in revenue. $1 million, that's a solid number right there. The people he works with have trusted in him as someone who helps navigate change and confidence, delivering results without the typical noise or uncertainty. There you go, a little bit about George. Sir, are you ready for the questions?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's do this thing. All right, so first, my favorite question is, as an entrepreneur, you've been doing this for a while, what do you consider to be your first win?
So my first win, I think a lot of people will say their biggest first ever client, but I'm going to go back even more into almost ancient history. And I'm saying that I would say my first win was actually getting out of the normal education or the expectation kind of system. Because there was a long time where I was in school just kind of going along and I was very disengaged to the point where I basically stopped kind of showing up. And from that point, I always had a passion in music. I always had a passion in the arts and culture. And that's something that I kind of took by two hands and looked at different ways that I could educate myself more into that. And so I found a music college in the East End, a small little thing, and taken the confidence to know myself and go down that route of something that I'm passionate about, I would say is my first win, because that took me on the path to where I am now. As we were discussing just a second ago, just before the interview started, it was the patchwork of different things all go into each other. No matter what you think is going to be the right direction, it's not necessarily your direction, and you can't measure, you can't design that. So my first win was having the confidence to take out and move away from something that wasn't right for me. That's what I would say is the first win.
So when you get into the arts and you did the art school, did you ever in a million years think this would parlay itself into like a marketing style career? Like, was that the goal, or what was the goal back then?
Not at the time, not at all, not in any way, shape or form. However, looking back on it now, what I was interested in arts education, which was like how to communicate with people, how to get messages across and things like that. It makes sense now. It makes total and utter sense that I'm in marketing from the interests that I displayed even then in education and what I wanted to do with my own creative craft.
Oh, that's a very unique path, which is fascinating to me. So let's move on. So we're near in the arts. There's the word budgeting means something different because there's not a direct like data driven, like it's very more harder to gauge. So when you talk budgeting with an arts background, what does that mean to you, and how do you determine like budgeting concerns and but how to budget a marketing campaign?
There's always a clash between institution and the artistic integrity. And there's always something that's like, we can't look like we're advertising, and yet you've got the people that own the venue or the festival going, yeah, but we need to make money, otherwise you can never come back. So there's always that kind of clash. And a lot of people, it's disparate, it's totally separate things, but that's not what I've experienced, not what it kind of end up being. You turn it round to being a negative clash and you turn it into something that's a positive. So the positive part is that music or the arts or culture in general is an emotional thing. You are able to build a connection with people, build those relationships into something that is more meaningful than just transactional kind of purchase stuff. And so taking that as a strength and starting with those kind of opinions and that leading on the strategy is where it will kind of be. So budgeting, yes, there's not a lot of revenue and income in the arts, just kind of general, and it's very, very tight a lot of the time, but it's not something that can be dismissed. So in any kind of strategy, any kind of conversation, it needs to be at the forefront in regards to the return on investment, either which one's working and which ones aren't. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, some of these institutions do not consider themselves commercial or business enterprises. And that's what I try and do. It's coaching them to understand that you are running a business. And it's artists in particular are even worse. It's they don't consider themselves a business, and they're not taught that either. There is a massive gap, particularly in, say, classical music, where it's all about the craft, and it's just not where we are right now. And it's helping with that and coaching with that.
Before we move on to the next one, I have one more follow-up. So when you do events, and you've had some very successful events, how do you know if it's something you should repeat and do again? Because it's not as easy as, hey, people showed up, that's equals a success. That's not black and white. How do you know when you should repeat an event?
It's tricky because it's usually you look at you try and ask people why they're there. It's like, is it the artist? Is it the repertoire? In classical music, it's like, are they playing Beethoven or is it new music? There are a lot of variables that you need to understand. And this is why getting to know who you're working with and knowing the audience is super important, because it's what they resonate with. And there's lots of different factors. But I would say usually it's like the artist and how good they are, or the repertoire that they're performing, because you like hearing that piece. There's lots of different factors, but I would usually say it's the connection, and you get that from data and feedback, either in person or what they're responding to through content.
So you do a lot of interacting with the audience and a lot of trying to get feedback as you're at the event and things of that nature. So we're best uses for AI, and I'm interested because there's definitely an AI art clash going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, AI is an incredibly useful tool, and there are a lot of different things and utilizations that you can use within it, particularly in systems. It's my approach on human-led and data-driven, how that has kind of come about as a philosophy, I guess, in a way, or an approach, is to understand that we, as marketers or advertisers or so, are talking to people. We're not talking to data points. And so people don't act like machines or people that make logical sense a lot of the time. It's like there are so many different kind of patterns, and to taking that into account in decision making. And for that reason, I try to tend to avoid, when there is an interaction between the customer itself and the institution, that interaction is not AI done. It is done with a person as much as possible. But the systems of kind of getting into place of reminding you to do it, or understanding about personalization, for instance, and just trawling through the data of how a person has reacted and things like that, can draw a lot of information. I remember there was one festival I was working on, and we were integrating, they had very basic CRM system. So just sending blanket mail outs. But we did have some information on what they were interacting with on the newsletter. What we found was that we were able to trace what they were clicking or what they were interested in, and to see what kind of music they were interested in. Then they got popped into a group, and then that became the top. So simple kind of personalization techniques within marketing drew up quite like about a 20% uplift in revenue from that channel. So getting the message and using AI to go through that data and to understand what's kind of working, that's where it's most useful.
So you probably have to sit down at times with the artist and explain, this is how we're using it, because I'm sure there's some artistic pushback on AI. And so it's probably difficult conversation sometimes. Am I right?
Absolutely huge. I mean, there's a big thing at the moment in regards to the copyright stuff, and it's like what the AI models have been trained on. And so there is already a massive clash. And you mentioned AI, and people are pretty nervous, particularly musicians, like, well, it's taken my stuff, and you ask it to do it, and it makes it very similar. So there's a lot of so you have to explain. You're exactly right. You just sitting down and explain what it actually is. It's like, no, we're not using it for music and stuff like that. What we're using is it in an efficient and effective way that doesn't touch your integrity or authenticity.
That's very good. That is extremely important, I'm sure. Yeah, that's great. And so we're going to shift gears a little bit. You made mention of a CRM and an email blowout mailer that you did. Can you talk to us about an example of cold marketing that you use that's being effective and that you enjoy, and then an example of warm marketing that you're currently using that you enjoy? Now, a quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, cold marketing, just making people, it's very different for a business. So I work with like Fujifilm and Austrian, things along those lines. So I have both sides of larger international companies building an audience and things like those. There's already the brand recognition, but with cold kind of awareness and outreach, I definitely use quite a lot of paid social advertising. I do a lot of that on Meta and things along those lines as an introduction into what either the artist or the institution is about. So it's really focusing down on, with video content, on those first 5 seconds. It has to be visually descriptive, particularly in music. So it's you always say and always think of, when editing or making content, that is going to be listened to on mute, first of all, which is really hard for musicians, because then is what you're trying to get across. So it's, there are certain base kind of level things that are like understood. So if you're promoting a classical festival or an artist, you show a piano or you show a violin within the first 3 seconds. If you see that image, you'll already have connotations as to what you're kind of setting that expectation. So with the cold, it's really working on the hook, and in music, it's being visually descriptive. On the warm side of marketing, it's building the relationship. Email marketing, I think, is incredibly effective, particularly when it's combined with personalization and AI analyzing data to understand the personalization. I think it's above 70% of people now expect personalization in their marketing and in how they're fed like information. And so it's no longer a preference or a choice. I would consider it now to be a necessity with personalization in particularly the warm side of marketing.
I love that, niching it down, making it very super specific. So you mentioned already a little bit about the video and how you had to get people's attention. Let me shift gears and ask you, are there times where like you do more amateur type videos and that's appropriate versus hiring a team and having like professional video? When do you use each of those and why?
Yeah, it is a great question. And it's always something that I know that when conversations I've had with other businesses is a big thing. Is that everyone assumes the video marketing is always going to be super expensive. You need a high production team to come and like make it right and rid. And it's just not true. There are different forms and there are different uses for it, depending on what you're wanting to kind of cross and what's appropriate to you specifically and your brand. But most of the time, particularly in local businesses, people don't just buy from a cold brand. They buy from people. And so to get that across and building a connection can easily be done through UGC, or as they say, user-generated type content, where you're doing it as a selfie video or something along those lines. And in actual fact, in the most recent mutterings in the marketing world, they're expecting 2026 to be, Instagram said this the other day, that the rougher video content is going to perform better in 2026. That is their expectation. But in actual fact, the smooth, clean kind of thing, it just doesn't perform as well. Because the rougher stuff is kind of doing better. So, I mean, video marketing for me, there is a combination. There is a time and place for both. But don't start off with the rough and build up, particularly if it's appropriate, because the most thing is getting your message across and connecting in some kind of way. And that can be done through a selfie video or just talking about stuff as well. So, yes.
So if you give us 2 tips that if you're doing the raw version just by yourself, 2 things that they must absolutely do if it's going to be effective.
Focus on the first 3 seconds, get that hook right. Make sure that it's interesting, get them to stop the scroll is kind of what I would say. It's have something, it doesn't have to be a lot, it can just be movement, something interesting, and start off with something good before you introduce yourself. I think that's the main one as well. The second is give the least amount that is valuable, because don't put everything in one video, split it up if you can. So if you have 5 different points of your product that are kind of positive things, separate that out into separate videos. Don't combine it into one, because you want one singular message, and it allows you to figure out what works with your audience as well. Because I tell you now, when you use a test and learn philosophy, your assumptions can most definitely be wrong about 50% of the time. I can never tell you what's going to work. I can just tell you the framework as to what I think would, and then we go and take it to market and see.
That's fact. That's good. I like that advice. That's good. We're doing well. So the other, I'm gonna shift gears one more time. So when we have artists, sometimes confidence for them could be an issue, and so forth. What kind of conversations do you have with them? What kind of support do you provide them? How do you help them build confidence that this event or their marketing is going to hit and be successful?
Yeah, it's always a tricky one. I mean, there's different people I think that you have to build confidence with. I mean, it's like from a leadership perspective with people on my team, I think to build confidence with the team or the people I'm leading or managing, you just need to have some kind of security for them to make mistakes, basically, to be able to test and learn. Yes, mistakes happen and things along those kind of lines, but as long as you learn something from it, that's okay. Don't try and hide it, because these things do happen. And I'm happier that you tried something that you think is going to work than if you didn't do it and kept safe, because you're not going to find growth by keep on doing the same thing, because we in an ever-changing world. With artists, they are super sensitive people in general, and there is a lot of kind of reassurance. And what they don't understand is what they perceive as being mundane of their life, about what practices or things like that, is actually really interesting to other people. And so it's giving some kind of social proof is what I found is good. It's like what I integrated when I'm talking to them is like, look, there's a great comment here. It was like, they loved how you performed this one and from this video in this rehearsal. Just feeding those back, because it doesn't take much. It doesn't have to take all of them. There was one guy that millions of views and stuff like that, and yet still we chose 5 of the best comments that we saw on his videos to build kind of confidence for him. And it does have an actual real world effect. It counteracts if there are some negative reviews by journalists and things like that, to understand that there's an audience there that is kind of supportive and works with them and is with them in their craft, I think is really beneficial. And that actually helps with their performance as well. And that's been fed back to me, but psychologically, it's had an impact.
That's good. All right. So before we head out and you get the outro and talk about the business and where people can get more information from you, I love asking this question just for my own selfishness. You handle a bunch of things. You have teams and you're handling big accounts. What do you do to kind of avoid that burnout of doing too many things or handling too many things? What do you do? What do you do? What's your strategy?
It's always a tricky one. Spinning so many plates, juggling so many balls, they're like playing and putting out so many fires. There's always different things, and it can really get on top of you. What I tend to do is take some time of reflection and going back as to why I'm doing it. And usually it comes back to being like, I'm communicating, I'm talking. It's not, some people don't like that it's like selling or things along those lines. It's like, I'm trying to get something across that I find special and that I believe in, and grounding that back to the core basic principles of why we're doing stuff usually gives me enough breathing space to put it in perspective as to what's happening, what's going on, and why we all do it. That really helps for me. I mean, sometimes it can be so overwhelming, and everyone will get it each time, but it doesn't kind of work, and then it's kind of, you just need to step away. But yeah, my advice in regards to the burnout situation is more to do with go back, figure out why you're doing it, what got you in this in the first place, and actually what you're concerned about. Does it really matter at the end of the day? Is that actually, there's usually is kind of this false kind of problem. There's a pink elephant in the room that you kind of got. So yeah, just space, stepping back.
Do you still play instruments and stuff? I'm sure you're in the arts. I was assuming your answer was going to be like, I check out the arts. I go to a play. I do stuff. Is that all? Was my assumption off? Is that you still do those things?
No. I still do those things. I mean, I feel as though I have to, because there's definitely some stuff that you have to understand what's out there, and you have to understand the context that you're dealing with, because there's going to be some, with the arts, you're at the forefront of like the visuals of trends and things along those lines. To understand what's happening and what people are working with is, I actually consider essential to what I do. I have to understand the playground I'm in. So yes, I'm out of culture all the time. I play instruments myself. I'm a guitarist by trade, and that's what I toured with. So yeah, I'm still actively involved in it.
That is awesome. That wouldn't be a bad way at all to just relax and be your job is to go see a play. Just go and just check
Yeah.
it out. I'm sure there's different pressures for you than it would be for me, obviously, but it just seems like a great. That's awesome. All right, so I could go on and on and on. I may even have to have you back on and just focus on events. I have so many event questions, but I didn't want to steer our conversation that direction this time. We may have to come back sometime and do just an events and marketing one because that area fascinates me as well. But on our way out here, let's let you do the outro. You talk about your business and all the things that are important to you, and then where can people get more information?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to come back on and share some more,
Awesome.
particularly if people find it all helpful. But yeah, so I'm George. I'm a digital strategist and a marketing leader with over 14 years experience. And I partner with local and international brands and arts organizations to bridge the gap in marketing between integrity and actually technical performance. My goal is to transform digital presence into measurable growth and being human-led and data-driven, ensuring that the people behind the data never get lost in the analytics. Whether it's scaling ticket sales for a concert season or auditing for effective global data infrastructure for e-commerce, I provide strategies and the execution that builds relationships and growth. So I'm interested in protecting your brand integrity while accelerating your growth. And you can book a free consultation with me at my website, georgepercy.com, and we'll kick off with a conversation to see if we can work together.
Man, I appreciate it. This is so much knowledge, and the art world is so fascinating. The bridge from artists and marketing has to be a fascinating and fun one for you. So we appreciate your time today, and I definitely, we'll rebook. We'll get you back on here soon.
Perfect. It's been so fun. Thank you so much for having me, and look forward to being back and speaking to you more.